priorities shift and you need that balance. You need to be able to kind of have your family life, your home life, and, not traveling like, a wild banshee like I was in the past was, that's a challenge, whether with or without, if you have a family, it's challenging. So I'm very grateful that it's all worked out.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. Wow. I'm coming to you hot off the heels of the 2023 Outdoor Media Summit in the beautiful city of Boise, Idaho, which is surrounded by mountains. Traveled all the way up there thanks to you, the listeners and supporters of this podcast, because you voted this show Best Outdoor Podcast of 2022. It's a labor of love, but things like this make all the hard work week after week so worthwhile. That and the mission of the show, getting to share stories of amazing women in the outdoors who are accomplishing incredible things and inspiring others to get involved. That's why I continue to do what I do. So just as soon as I got home from Boise, I had to immediately unpack and repack for the final LBA tournament of the years, which is the Classic on Bull Shoals Lake in Peel, Arkansas, out of Anchor Point. And super excited to get back there. No rest for the weary, but that's okay. I get the rare opportunity to practice fish with Lori Pulvisol from Two Chicks in a Boat, barring any unforeseen changes. And my tournament co's for day 1 and day 2 are Diane Williams and Renee Key Johnson. Fished with both of those ladies before, so I'm excited to have them back in the boat. And I think this is just going to be a super fun tournament. I don't know what it is about this one. I've been to Bull Shoals before, but it was totally different conditions where it was 30-foot flooded, and now it's actually like about 5-foot low. So it's going to be a 35-foot different lake than when I was there last. But I'm just really looking forward to getting back there and just having a good time being out on the water fishing. According to the forecast right now, it looks like we've got some pretty mild conditions, so not too hot, not too cold, not a lot of rain in the forecast, not a lot of high winds, so we shouldn't have any crazy scenarios that we've had to deal with in the past. So I think it's just going to be a fun, relaxing tournament. It is the championship, of course, so you want to do really well. So yeah, I think it's going to be fun. During our banquet, which is the evening of the final day of practice, which is tomorrow as this episode comes out, we'll get to meet the new owners of the LBAA and hopefully find out more about what the 2024 season is going to hold. A lot of this information is going to kind of determine and shape my decision for 2024. And that being said, I hope to present to you a very special solo episode next week with a lot of news and some big changes going forward. So before I get into this week's episode, I did want to make a quick announcement because I'm really excited. The MPAA conference is down in Fort Myers again this year, January 5th through the 7th. I want to talk real quick about this program. I mentioned it a few times. I think some people get a little intimidated by the name of the organization, National Professional Anglers Association. But really what it is, it's an organization for anybody who's interested in, wants to take their fishing, their career, whether it be a full-time career or something you do for fun, but maybe, would want to turn it into something down the road. It's just an organization to network, get to learn, hear from some incredible industry professionals. And it's really information that you're not going to get through any other kind of organization. The dues for the year, this is the kicker here, $100. But what you get with your membership, aside from having access to this conference, regular newsletters with tons of super important information about what's going on in fishing, they have all these partner programs, and you get massive discounts with all the partners. So if you spend a lot of money on fishing gear, you're gonna pay for your $100 dues within the first couple things that you order through one of the partners. Just to name a few, they're affiliated with Pure Fishing, Rapala, Sunline, 13 Fishing, AFCO, Amped Outdoors, Big Bite Baits, Ducket Baits. I'm just kind of, there's so many. Hobie Eyewear, Offshore Tackle, Ray Marine, St. Croix Rods, Lou's Strike King, on and on and on and on. It's a no-brainer, really, to join this organization, and they do a lot of great things for the industry and conservation and their Future Anglers Foundation. But anyway, during this conference, we're really looking forward to it. Pat and I, the director, he has given us ladies a 2.5-hour workshop on the first day of the conference, which is Friday, January 5th. And we're putting together a pretty exciting panel of some professional lady anglers and ladies in the fishing industry to kind of give their perspective. I think it's going to be a very, very insightful 2.5 hours. And so I hope you can join us for the conference down there in Fort Myers. But the other exciting thing that I wanted to talk about is that once again, we did this last year on the last day of the conference, which is Sunday, the 7th. Us ladies kind of broke away and met up with a bunch of other amazing ladies in the area and some that traveled down just for this. But we did a women's kayak fishing meetup in conjunction with Gulf Coast Kayak, and it was a blast. So we're super excited about doing it again this year. The registrations are live. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for this episode if this is something you're interested in participating in. We plan to meet up. Things could change, but right now we're planning to meet up around 8 in the morning at Matt Lachey and fish until 1 o'clock. And then we're all going to go grab some lunch and tell some fish tales there on the island. So we're really, really excited about that. You have two options. There's a guided option where everything's provided, your kayak, all your gear. It's only $135 a person. And then you also have another option of bringing your own kayak. And I think I'm going to try to get hooked up with a kayak because I want to make sure that all the guided spots are available. There's only 15, so it's going to fill up really quick. And so just wanted you guys to be one of the first to be aware of this. If you're able to join us, we'd love to have you. Again, I'll put a link to the registration in the show notes, and just let me know if you have any questions. All right, let's get into this episode. With everything going on between Boise, going to the Classic, as always, my angel in disguise, the Crappie Hippie John King from the Fish Nerds podcast, came out of nowhere to save my butt. He shared with me an incredible catch-up conversation that he recently had with a former woman angler and adventurer guest and Fish Nerds guest, Anna on Ice. And he's offering to let me share this conversation with you so you guys can get caught up on what all is going on with Anna. And ironically, I listened to this recording on my flight from Atlanta to Boise, and just to learn that Anna had relocated to Boise of all places. So coincidence? I think not. So I think it's a little bit serendipitous to share this conversation with y'all this week. You're really going to enjoy it. And thank you once again, John King, a.k.a. the Crappie Hippie and the Fish Nerds podcast, for being such great friends and whom I consider partners at this point of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. With that, please everyone enjoy getting caught up with Anna on Ice and all the epic changes going on in her life over the past few years.
Hello, Fish Nerd Nation. I am so excited because today in Glasswater Angling Studios, I have a young lady who was actually on the show early in 2020. She is someone I met through Instagram. I had seen this woman posting these great fishing pictures, mostly ice fishing pictures, some extreme ice fishing pictures. And I thought, my goodness, now Clay wants me to get more women on the pod. This was early in my correspondent days, and I wanted to do what the boss wanted me to do. So I reached out to this person, and we did this big, huge interview. We had to split it into 3 parts. We had so much darn fun, but we had a lot of fun getting her on the show early in 2020. She is an ice fishing authority. She has also been involved with outdoor television, and she is a gear model for DSG outerwear designed by women for women. Now, when I first met her, she was on a lecithin, but now she's on a Braidey. Please join me as we catch up with Anna on ice.
Yeah, we've got kind of a history. We've kind of got a history rolling. I was going to say, you said 2020. I was going to say you were probably one of my very first followers ever, John.
Yeah, well, I was amongst your earlies, that's for sure. And then I went over to research you, and that's how I got to know Angie Scott, and basically all kinds of good things came out of it. But we sure had a lot of fun putting that together because it was a gigantic interview that I had to split over 3 episodes.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
It was great. So, all right. So first thing I'm going to do here is play a little bit from 2020. I was talking to Anna about her plans for the future in terms of matrimony, and here's what she had to say. What about family goals? Family goals. What does that look like?
I feel like I got a lot of time left, so I'm just going to keep doing me. I'm just going to keep, fishing my life away. And if I decide to settle down with a guy that can keep up with me, then then that might be in the cards. But like I said, I'm sure having a family one day and kind of laying some roots here in Minnesota are definitely in my cards in the future. But boy, I got a lot of fishing I want to get done before then. So.
All right, Anna. Well, from looking at your Instagram feed, I see that you finally found a guy that could keep up with you.
Yeah, I would say probably not even a month after that call. You must have manifested it into fruition there, John. So yeah, no, I'm happily married to my husband Ben. I actually funny enough, I've known Ben since the 3rd grade. I actually ended up marrying my best friend's brother.
Oh my goodness, that is sweet. I tell you, I am just crazy about this kind of stuff. I mean, it's love to hear stories about how people got together and all that.
Yes, we're actually in over ice fishing. Funny enough, we joke that we always kind of fancied each other, but to me he was always off limits. He was my best friend's brother, so I never really neither one of us ever really kind of made a move. But we used to go on an ice fishing trip. So his sister, my best friend's name is Lauren, and her husband, the 4 of us would do an ice fishing trip every year. And in 2020, that same trip, that January, Lauren and Andrew's dog was with them and got sick, like super sick. He's fine now, but they had to drive him to an emergency vet. So it was just Ben and I, and that actually opened the opportunity for us to build onto an actual relationship together. So here we are now in 2023, and we're married, and we have a beautiful 8-month-old boy.
Well, I'll be darned. I'll tell you what. Thank you, dog, for your timely illness. I'm glad you recovered completely, but it all worked out in the ripples of life that gave Anna and Ben some one-on-one time in a very relaxed, very fun atmosphere called fishing, which is a great place to make a buddy and apparently a great place to meet a life partner as well. That's fantastic. I love that story.
Yes, we often say to their dog Knox, we're always like, "Hey Knox, we appreciate that, you took one for the team and you got sick and you had to leave it. And what was actually even cooler and pretty special, the place where we actually got married was on the very same lake. The venue is on the lake that we were fishing. So a year and a half later, we got married in the same spot. So it was pretty full circle.
Oh my goodness, that is so fun. I tell you, I just can't stand it when it goes so great and goes so right and things all fall together like that. What a romantic way to tie the knot and to come back to where the spark happened in the first place. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, now speaking of Freddie,
Yes.
cutest little fella I ever did see. I'm telling you, here's a little thing you had to say about, or I had to say, I think I was kind of teasing you about, well, once you got married, did you plan on starting a family? And this is what we were talking about back then. I just keep having this strange mental picture of you going into labor on the ice. Nicole's screaming, "Come on, Anna, come on." And you're like, fish on flasher.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can't leave
I'm hooked
yet.
up. I'm not going anywhere.
I just have the baby on the ice. So
Yeah.
Go well.
The views, it would go viral for sure. Exactly.
Oh, too funny.
Okay, so unless you decided to keep it some sort of secret and just not put it on Instagram, you did manage to have your child not on the ice while fishing. You did manage to get to proper facilities and give birth in a more stable, controlled environment, correct?
Yes, surprisingly. And he was born at the very end of December. So I would have had the opportunity, to have him on the ice. But no, we played the safe route, and no, I did have him at the hospital, and
Well,
he has yet to be on the ice, but that will change very soon here with winter around the corner. So I'm excited to get him out here on the ice out here in Idaho. So.
well, it's going to be great because I can just see that sweet little head peeping up out of your DSG wear as you jig for some of those gigantic yellow perch that you've been catching.
Yes.
Now, it's kind of funny to me that both you and your good buddy Nicole, who is one of your top fishing buddies,
Yes.
both decided to cross the parental line right around the same time.
Indeed. Yes, we did. Yes, it was and she didn't tell people for a while, well, neither one of us did, but she had her daughter in the middle of October, and we had Freddie at the end of December. So now we joke, it's like, oh well, they're right around the same age. One day maybe we can set them up. It would be a dream come true for Nicole and I.
Well, that would just be fabulous if they could become fishing buddies and go out and be friends and all that. And I think there's a good chance of that happening. I really, really do. Okay, so big changes. We talked a lot when I talked to you in 2020. We talked a lot about your career ambitions and your ideas and, where were you going long run, planning on staying with this fishing, planning on having a career in fishing. Tell us how things have changed or how you've modified your vision or how you've added to it or however you want to express it. But talk about what you're doing now and what you plan to be doing in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was fun to listen back on our previous conversation, and I'm really thankful that I got to take those few years and really just immerse myself in the fishing world and industry, particularly ice fishing. From a career standpoint, it was fabulous. And then, as big changes. That's an understatement. So, I think even in our previous podcast, I was talking about, wanting to, lay roots in Minnesota. But my husband, Ben's job actually brought us out had a great opportunity in Idaho. So we are in the Boise metro, and, that kind of presented some challenges with my career, but it was ultimately a blessing in disguise, because I'll be honest with you, anybody who's full-time, and Nicole would attest to this if she was on here, but if you are full-time in that industry, it's a grind. I learned really quickly there's no such thing as kind of separating your professional and personal life. It was you're full-time all the time. And there was a lot of travel involved, which I really enjoyed. for those years that, I was able to do it, and before we moved and everything. And it was definitely a grind, but it was something an opportunity I was really thankful for. But going back to just kind of having a 9 to 5 and splitting fishing as my passion versus my profession. You ask anybody who turns their passion into profession, and there's kind of a fine line you dance on where something that you love becomes, a job. So,
hey, you're preaching to the choir right here.
Yeah. You might know a thing or two about that. So yeah, so I found I have a great 9 to 5 job that has a ton of flexibility. I work from home, and I'm really in charge of my own schedule. So I work in marketing, so it's great because I kind of get to still dabble in a lot of what I learned from working in the industry, but I can now have kind of that separation that I really almost forgot about in those years that I was immersed in, the fishing world career. So I'm thankful because it's like, oh, I get to enjoy fishing for fishing again. And I get to do the fun stuff where I get to do, I get to do the social media aspect, which you and I, bond over quite a bit. So it's really panned out to be exactly where I want it to be. And, now that I'm not 9 months pregnant and, about to give birth in the middle of my favorite season, I'm literally looking forward to, to this upcoming ice season. I've got some really fun trips planned, and yeah, it's been great exploring that in a whole entirely new state on top of it.
Would you like fishing and hunting information and tips from experienced outdoors women? Want to learn more about outdoor gear that works for you? Want inspiration and try to find something new in the outdoors? Then subscribe to Adventurous, the only women's hunting and fishing magazine. Adventurous is a high-quality print magazine you'll be sure to love, and it makes a great gift for other outdoors women and youth. Subscribe at adventurousmagazine.com.
Well, yeah, we'll get into some comparisons between your old home and your new home, but I'm really am excited for you because you start a family and your priorities have to change. And
Absolutely.
It's great that you can tailor a situation to help you do both things to the max, as we used to say back in the 70s, to the max. And you can enjoy your fishing now. It kind of reminds me of my daughter. She's an artist, but she never wanted to be just a professional artist, all, depending on that for income and so forth. She'd rather have the freedom of ideas and the freedom of separation and keep her art kind of over there. And it's great that Freddie's going to have a mom that can hang out and a dad that can hang out and is not pressed to travel and is not pressed to make these hard decisions. So I'm really, 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 really happy for you. And glad to see you're making it work. That is fantastic.
Thank you, John. Yes, no, the balance is, like you said, it definitely, your priorities shift and you need that balance. You need to be able to kind of have your family life, your home life, and, not traveling like, a wild banshee like I was in the past was, that's a challenge, whether with or without, if you have a family, it's challenging. So I'm very grateful that, it's all worked out, and that I have a partner who values it just as much as I do, that we still get to pursue our passions while, growing a family together.
It's just wonderful. It's an amazing story. And I'm so glad you agreed to come on and talk to us about that and how it's all, coming together for you. I'm always glad to hear. We need good news, especially now. And you'll get back to that stuff that we talked about, the saltwater fishing. And actually, it's probably pretty good, your idea about going back to Ukraine for a while and doing some professional ice fishing there, or some competitive ice fishing there. Maybe it's a good thing that didn't happen.
Yeah. Given the current circumstances, it might be a little while for sure.
Yeah, I think that one's going to go on hold irregardless. So when you said you were moving to Idaho, I was like, well, it's cold up there. They got ice up there. I think she'll be all right. I don't think they got near as many lakes as Minnesota, though. So how's things going with your Idaho fishing versus Minnesota? What are your regrets about not being back in your old home? But what are the bonuses for being in your new home?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's pros and cons, of course, with any big move like that. But it was funny when Ben got the opportunity presented for his his company to move us out here, right away I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, if Boise was one of the options. And Lake Cascade, which is just about an hour north of the Boise metro area, has been on my bucket list since forever. Lake Cascade is home to the world record yellow perch. And if you've seen pictures of them, they're almost mutants.
They are. I'm glad.
real.
I'm glad you said it first, because I was just like, these are not normal yellow perch from this planet. I've don't have wide experience with yellow perch. A few people are playing around stocking them in ponds in Kansas, but not many. And of course, I saw your Minnesota perch. I got to go yellow perch fishing with Clay and enjoy the heck out of that species. But these things are like red fins, in Europe or something. They are bananas big, just crazy big perch. I'm not surprised the world record's from there.
No, they are. Yeah, so they had been on my list for a long time, just because anybody who's deep into the ice fishing world knows all about Lake Cascade perch. And so I was super excited by, the opportunity. So we ended up falling in love with the area. And it's just been such a fun last 2 winters getting to explore that body of water. It's got a super cool history behind how that population came to be. And yeah, we've gotten to catch a bunch of new species I caught my first pike minnow. Was not familiar with that species at all. Was only heard about it a few times. I've got to pull several different species of trout through the ice, which has been super fun. Mountain whitefish existed in that lake, so it's just been really, really cool to explore that body of water. Very, mountain lakes are very different from what we're used to in the Midwest. Weather and snowpack plays a big role in fishing conditions. So unlike in the Midwest where, a lot of people have fish houses and permanents or skid shacks, that is not a thing out here. It's kind of almost impossible, because if you had anything kind of permanent or semi-permanent out there, you run the risk of it snowing 2 feet on top of you and you're never seeing, your shelter again, kind of a thing. So
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a wild ride getting to learn all about it. But there's lots of other bodies of water too that I've yet to even explore. I mean, like I said, we've only been out here for 2 winters, and one of those I had a brand new newborn. So this winter will be another super exciting exploration time for me. So I'm very excited that there's 2 other big lakes here that I'm just itching to get on some safe ice. So got to check some more species off my list.
Wow, it just sounds super fantastic. So those mountain lakes, they're awful deep compared to, say, glacial lakes, or rolling prairie lakes, glacial formed lakes in Minnesota. Pretty cool stuff. And I knew you'd be getting into the trout fishing out there. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's almost impossible not to. I mean, it's for sure. I mean, even just culturally from a fishing standpoint, it's so different out here. Trout is king in the West when it comes to just kind of the community around fishing. It's definitely, yeah. I mean, everybody just really, really is very attracted to the trout fishing out here. Obviously fly fishing is huge. So it's been really cool to kind of embark on all those new species, but also, get to catch them through the ice has been super cool. I mean, we've definitely caught some in the rivers and open water, but yeah, me.
I do know you.
Through the ice is ideal.
Yes, that is your jam. That is your way to get it done. I was going to ask you, if you've been tempted to pick up that old fly rod and try some of those streams in the open water season.
Yes. Yeah. We actually, I grew up doing a little bit of fly fishing. I was really young, because I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. There's a lot of great fly fishing opportunities up the north and south shore of Lake Superior. So, it's definitely not like riding a bike. You don't get to pick up where you left off. So I had a lot of learning curve to kind of reestablish, but both Ben and I last summer did a lot of camping, so we got to explore lots of new trout streams and rivers and lakes, and it's been really fun to kind of start cutting our teeth with fly fishing too.
Well, you got my envy. I've read a lot of John Gierach, and he talks about going to Idaho for the great fly fishing, the famous rivers there, and to catch those native Western cutthroats on my bucket list. And I don't like saying bucket list or using that popular term very much, but getting a cutthroat is something I really, really wanted to do. Have you got one yet?
I have not, and that's actually my first order of business, because one of the very first lakes to freeze, and maybe you're familiar with it, but it's called Henry's Lake. And that is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the pre-spawning lake that connects to the Yellowstone River, where a whole bunch of the native cutthroats kind of originate. And it is one of the very first lakes in Idaho to freeze over. So anybody, who likes to ice fish out here, it's kind of a countdown. Some people in the past have even been on the ice and Henry's catching huge cutthroats. I mean, huge cutthroats as soon as Halloween. So that was a couple years ago. People were out there at the end of October catching cutthroats through the ice, which is just crazy. So you and me both, John. I'm very, very excited to catch that species.
Well, they are something gorgeous, and I'm glad to see the trend now is to protect them and to quit just stocking the non-native trout willy-nilly just because everybody everywhere wants everything. And I can understand that impulse to an extent. I know when I was young, I was like, you need to bring smallmouth to Kansas, and you need to do this, you need to do that. And of course, I've gone a complete 180 on that. I want to see the cutthroat protected. I want to see Mississippi drainage protected. Our species protected. We don't need to have everything everywhere all the time. And sounds like that's a pretty pure fishery, because if the cuts are getting that big, that must mean they're having the lion's share of the food. And I'm going to be there, girl, on Instagram to see you when you pull that first cutty through the ice. I'm going to be there.
You might get it. Maybe I'll send you a preview before I post it, so you can be in the exclusive club of seeing it first.
Oh, well, that would make me feel special, but so exciting, just so exciting. All righty. So I love your modeling for DSG outerwear, the outerwear for women, designed by women. You were still modeling that stuff when you were pregnant. It looked like it fit really nice, that you were very comfortable in it. You want to talk about DSG for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so cool to see just how back when so Nicole and I laugh about it, because back when we first started fishing together, even before we even knew each other, I mean, all we ever did was wear men's smalls, because there was no such thing as adequate ice fishing or outerwear for us ladies. I mean, nobody was making it. There was a couple brands that were dabbling in it, but basically they were just kind of taking cookie cutter sizes of men's stuff and just like shortening the sleeves or shortening the pant legs, and it was just never a good fit, so it was really cool to see brands like DSG kind of come to the table and be like, we want to make functional gear that's not just taking men's stuff and shrinking it and making it pink.
Right, right, exactly.
What they were doing, a lot of those brands were doing. So, it's been the brand has just exploded, and I think it's been almost like a double whammy. It's like if you build it, they'll come kind of a thing. It's like you have this right gear, and all of a sudden we've seen just this huge surge of popularity in girls getting out, enjoying the sport independently, not just, I grew up in an ice fishing family sort of a deal. It's like, no, there's girls who are embarking on getting into the sport, getting into both open water and ice fishing, because finally they feel, like they have gear that's comfortable for them. So it's been really fun to be a part of the DSG family for the last few years. I've made a lot of really great friends that, have just contacted me about the gear, and then we start talking fishing, and I've got to meet up with girls from all over the place that have been involved with the brand. So it's been a really, really fun to be a part of that.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And I'll tell you, you are such a great ambassador. DSG is lucky to have you. What I hear on Woman Angler and Adventurer, Angie's podcast, Angie Scott, is that women that are into this design are just like men that design outdoor clothes, do it for men. And like you say, you can't call it a woman's wear when you just downsize men's wear. You got to understand that a woman might get pregnant.
Yeah.
And she might be a lot bigger and have curves that go a different way for a while. And then she's going to go back to pretty much the way she was until it goes through another life change of some sort. So recognizing that we're curvy in different places, that we've got different needs as far as comfort on the ice, being able to go to the bathroom, being able to attend to whatever personal hygiene we need to attend to. A woman designer is going to be more in tune with that, I think. And DSG seems to understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better. It's women's gear that is, designed by and for women. You can't get more straightforward in terms of adequate functionality than that. And it's just, what I think is really cool too, about that brand is from the get-go, they have we have like kind of an open water team of girls and a ice fishing team of girls and a hunting team of girls. And us as a team, we're completely involved from start to finish in the design, which what other brands are still doing that? There really aren't, and they're sending out, even just test runs for some of us the season before to test it out and give critical feedback of like, okay, I think this works well, this doesn't work well, let's swap this out for this kind of a thing. And it's just like, man, I have not encountered that, with most brands are just like, nope, we placed an order, like it is what it is. But getting to be a part of the design aspect and knowing that it's been kind of tried and true field tested is you can't beat that.
Well, it sounds logical. It sounds like something that makes sense. I'll tell you one thing. My wife just loves you, loves your attitude, because you are not afraid to talk about comfort. She says, John, you guys go out there and just seem to hunt up misery. You just seem to want to be miserable. A fine and pleasant misery is what you're after. You're out getting wet. You're out getting cold. You're out in the wind. You're out doing this or that. But I told her all about how you will do the most insane things on the ice, which she says 60 below, no way I could get that. But I say she gears up for it. She does not want to be uncomfortable. She does not want to be miserable. She does not want to tell stories about how she got froze to the ice drill. And it's great that we have women that aren't afraid to say, look, I don't want to be miserable. Is that a problem?
Exactly. Well, and those of us that, had experienced who were dumb enough to experience all the the uncomfortableness and before any of those things were possible. Like if you look at all the technology advances, I mean, look at how nice even like the different the ice fishing hubs and the shacks that are out there now. I mean, oh my gosh, those things were not in existence 15, 20 years ago. We all just used to be sitting on a plastic bucket, freezing our butts off, wearing way too many layers. And, it's changed. And I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think having gear that people can enjoy the outdoor sport, these outdoor sports comfortably, it's a game changer. It allows people who are not the weekend warriors. Well, it allows people to be able to enjoy it.
Yes, you want people to be comfortable. When it comes down to the clothes, you got to be able to move around. Your boots have to fit and things like that. And it's not wrong to say so and to say, hey, make me something comfortable that actually fits me. So good job, DSG outerwear. Oh, also one thing I wanted to mention, we keep talking about Nicole like everybody knows who she is. It's Nicole from Nicole Stone Outdoors, which she was also on Fish Nerds talking about walleye and what walleye can see color-wise and so forth. And we had a lot of fun with that interview. And I may have to run her down and ask her a lot of the same questions I've been asking you. But anyway, what is your big aspiration? Okay, you want to get out with Freddie and Ben, and you want to do the family thing and all that. But let's say 10 years from now, Freddie's 10 years old. You're 10 years down the road. You've got some mad money. You've got some things going on. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be doing?
Ooh, that's a good one. You always got the good questions, John. I want to be able to, I think, as any parent, and you can probably attest to this, you want to be able to provide your kids this, the opportunities that maybe you didn't get to have, that you really wanted to as a kid. Ben and I talk about it all the time. It's like, growing up in the Midwest, we had a lot of stuff at our fingertips, but being able to hunt and fish in kind of these new dream locations that we, like I said, as kids kind of dreamed about. It's like, oh my gosh, we live here now. And being able to, bring our kids along on those kinds of experiences will be just priceless. I think that there's a lot of things that we've accomplished in the last 5-6 years and gotten to see and do some really cool stuff. And it's like, oh, I look at some of the experiences I've had in that short time frame. I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to, show this to my child and get them out in the outdoors the way that I kind of dreamed of at that age. So that's definitely a huge aspiration for me. And still having that balance. I know that Freddie and any future kids that we have, it's the outdoors are going to be a giant part of our lifestyle. It's going to be really cool to prioritize that for them and even for us to explore some new stuff and have them in tow.
Well, I am going to be watching close and going to stay with this as long as God willing I can hang around here on this earth. I want to see Freddie and his first trip to Canada. I want to see Freddie get back to where mama's from in that Minnesota water. And then hopefully he'll go with you when you go out there to catch the mahi and some of those things that you've been wanting to do before he came along. Well, now you get to share it with him. And it's going to be wonderful to see what kind of fishing he zeroes in on. Because we just did a thing about how younger you start, the more likely you are to stick with it for all your life. And boy, did that young man land in the great place. Super, super cool. Well, Anna, let's see. You were on Fish Nerds 239, Fish Nerds 240, and Fish Nerds 247. So, folks, if you want to catch up with my interviews from the old days with Anna Lessishin, now Anna Braidey. All right, I got to do it. I got to picture it. I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm picturing the Braidey bunch going to Canada.
I don't think you're wrong. I think that might be it. I think that might be in our future.
I think it will be too, but I just couldn't get away from it. I apologize. All right. Well, Anna, if you don't have anything else you want to say or want to talk about, I could sit here and talk all day, but by golly, the remaining time is winding down. So final word.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, John, to catch up. I mean, I just laughed kind of listening back on those older episodes. It's like, oh, just so much has changed. It's amazing how much can change in a really short time frame.
It is really, really is amazing, but that's what's so beautiful about being young and alive and finding your true love and leaving your heart open to experience and having the flexibility and the courage to make changes and having the self-understanding to be able to pick it up and run with it. Well, anyway, I'm just bubbling over here with hearts and happiness for you. And we wish you all the best from the Fish Nerds.
Thank you so much, John. I'll definitely keep you up to speed. Just be watching for some more of those mega perch pictures because they'll be coming soon.
Oh, and one last thing, I do know where Idaho is, and you still owe me a fishing trip, so don't be surprised.
Hey, you're open invitation. If you want to hit Henry's Lake, we can go embark on the cutthroat adventure together.
All righty. Wow. That sounds fantastic. All righty. Well, listen, you take care of yourself and we will talk to you soon.
Sounds good, John. Thank you so much.